The auctioneer called him a gift fit for a princess. A chained earthborn with storm-gray eyes, scarred knuckles, and a control collar bright enough to prove ownership. Princess Lyssara watched from behind a silver veil while nobles bid on fighters. Servants, musicians, and prisoners. She had been told slavery was tradition. Order. Civilization with prettier chains. Then the human looked up at her. Not begging, not raging, just measuring the room. And for the first time ever, Lyssara felt as if the property was judging the buyer. His name was Aaron Hale, though the merchant called him Specimen 7. A Terran disaster engineer captured when raiders struck a relief ship near the Ash Moons. He was bought for Lyssara by her uncle, Regent Veron, as a birthday spectacle. A rare earthborn bodyguard whose collar would force loyalty. The court laughed when Aaron was pushed to his knees before the princess. The collar humming blue against his throat. Veron smiled and said, "Command him, niece. He exists now for your safety and amusement." That was the first lie. Because no one shocked into obedience can truly protect anyone. Lyssara hated the gift, but she hated embarrassing her uncle more. So she whispered, "Stand." The collar flashed. Aaron stood, slow, stiff, eyes still on hers, not obedient, enduring. Veron ordered her to test him, make him bow, make the savage prove the device. Aaron's jaw tightened as the collar burned brighter. Lyssara felt shame crawl up her spine. She said only, "Follow me," and left the hall while the nobles groaned at her softness. In her private garden, she finally spoke. "I did not ask for you," Aaron answered, "and I did not apply, princess." His voice was rough, dry, almost amused. She said he should show respect. He looked at the jeweled walls and the silent guards and replied, "Respect cannot be purchased by the kilogram. Only fear can." Lyssara almost called the guards, then saw the raw skin beneath the collar, and her anger lost its shape. The second lie broke quietly. Princesses are taught that mercy is weakness, but sometimes mercy is truth's refusing costume. For 3 days, Aaron followed her, not like a servant. Like a storm cloud that refused to rain, he stood too close to doorways, watched hands, ignored ceremonial insults, and never used the word master. The collar punished him each time protocol demanded it. Yet he absorbed the pain without sound. Lyssara began to understand the court was not displaying control, it was displaying fear. Because every noble needed the collar to believe they were stronger than the chained man. On the 4th night, during the Moonfire banquet, assassins came for the princess. Not rebels, not freed workers, but noble soldiers wearing her family colors. Veron had arranged it, planning to blame the slaves and crown himself protector of the realm. The first blade slid from a waiter's sleeve. Aaron moved before the guards did, taking the strike on his forearm, turning the attacker into a table. Shoving Lyssara behind a pillar, the collar screamed blue, punishing him for acting without command. Then something impossible happened. The collar flickered, Aaron staggered, eyes narrowing, not from fear, but recognition. Earth rescue implants were built to override nerve shock after industrial disasters. To keep workers conscious when machinery tried to kill them, the collar kept trying to map pain into obedience. But his implant kept rejecting the command as trauma interference. The two systems fought across his nervous system. Blue light became white, the collar cracked, and every slave caller in the banquet hall answered the same signal. The room filled with a sound the Empire had never heard. Chains losing an argument, 1 caller died, then 10. Then 100 across the palace network. Musicians froze as metal fell from their throats. Kitchen workers touched bare skin with shaking hands. Soldiers dragged in as punishment stood upright. Veron shouted for guards to fire, but half the guards wore debt collars under their armor. Those collars opened too, and loyalty returned to the people it had been stolen from. Lyssara stared at Aaron, the human bought to obey her, now standing free because the Empire had tried to command a species that built survival into its bones. Veron seized her arm, screaming that she must denounce the human before the crowd turned. Aaron raised the broken collar and said, "Princess, this is the moment every ruler eventually meets. The moment you learn whether your throne stands on people or on their necks, Veron drew a pulse pistol, but Lyssara struck his wrist with her ceremonial cup, a ridiculous weapon. A royal weapon. Enough. The shot went wide. Aaron stepped in, disarmed him, and pushed him down. That was when Lyssara chose. Not between human and empire, but between ownership and rule. She walked to the banquet stairs while freed servants, guards, and nobles stared up at her. The old laws screamed inside her mind, deny, command, restore order. Instead, she tore the ownership seal from her sleeve and dropped it beside Aaron's broken collar. I was given a person and told it was a gift, she said. I accepted silence because silence was easier than courage. No one in my house will own another life again. Not by collar, debt, conquest, or tradition. Veron laughed from the floor, warning that the economy would fall. Fleets would rebel, old houses would rise. Lyssara looked at the freed workers filling every doorway, then at Aaron, who had never asked her to save him. Only to see clearly, let them rise, she said. This palace has stood too long on bent backs. It can learn to stand on feet. By dawn, the collar factories were burning cold. From locked furnaces and workers walking out, debt archives opened, slave ships grounded. And across the capital, people touched their throats as if discovering their own names. Aaron refused a medal, refused a title, refused repayment in gold. When Lyssara asked what Earth wanted for his suffering, he answered, "Start by never calling freedom a gift." Years later, Queen Lyssara kept the broken human collar in the throne room, not as a trophy, but as an accusation. Children learned that the end began when a princess bought a human slave, and the empire laughed at the collar around his neck, until the collar stopped working, until every chain connected to it failed, until a ruler finally understood the simplest human truth. No one is born to be owned, and no throne is worth keeping if it needs slaves beneath it.